My memory is insane.
What is a dolphin prawn? You guys would be pretty much nothing without us.
I came in at 16, 15.
Broccoli! Get rid of the dad bod. Do something with my life.
Hey guys, welcome back to Playground Politics. It's Brayden here, and I'm joined with my sideman, Ed. How are you, Ed?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, Brayden. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Running low on hours of sleep. I mean, we're recording this in the morning, which is a bit different, but I'm doing pretty well. And I'm talking about the topic of sleep. We have got a uniform change, and if you're watching this on YouTube, that is, we are wearing hoodies.
Very nice segment change there. I just like that little segue. Very good. Sorry, yes, we're wearing hoodies. If you date back to episode 2, we had a little chat about them, and Brayden had his. He was very hyped about his. He wouldn't stop talking about his. Brayden found a new love. Found his new love in his hoodie, however you say it. And I mentioned that I had one in the post, and I got a parcel yesterday, and I had my garlic bread hoodie in the mail.
Oh, garlic bread. Well, mine's dogs. I think they're boxers, to be exact, like boxers, like dog. You know, the breed of dog boxers. They're those little dogs, all over me, and they're all doing different things. This one's my favorite though. He's eating a stack of pancakes, and it makes me hungry every time I look at it.
He looks like you.
Yeah, not that fat.
Debatable.
I don't eat that much.
So, yeah, that's the hoodie update for anyone who was concerned that we forgot. And it'll probably turn into a podcast uniform, especially if we're recording in the mornings. And
yeah, because some people suck at morning people.
In the morning topic, Brayden and I had a discussion probably Thursday, Friday about when we'd be recording this week's podcast, and Father's Day, and I've got stuff on today. It really chucks probably a curveball into this week, and Monday's too late because I have to edit and everything. So we came to the conclusion. Oh, sorry. Brayden came to the conclusion.
No.
Brayden came to the conclusion that we should record at 7 a.m. on Saturday, the 5th of September. Now, fine. I'll get up at 7 a.m. and I'll record 6:30, have a shower, and record the podcast. And I did that. But Brayden, what were you doing at 7 a.m. this morning?
I was sleeping, Ed. I was sleeping in my warm bed, in my hoodie, enjoying it.
And then...
Because some people... Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep on going because I messaged you last night at about... Where are we? No, that's this morning. I messaged you at 10 o'clock last night saying, can we make it 8 a.m.? A bit more civilized. And he didn't get back to me. So I'm like, since you're probably asleep.
I did.
Yeah. At the same time I sent this message, at the exact minute, I said, since you're probably asleep, I'll be on Zoom at 7 a.m. XX. He goes, okay, coolio. Now, so I thought,
XX.
okay. Yeah, sorry, XX. So then I thought, at 8 a.m. this morning, I thought, maybe there was just a bit of confusion and he's going to get on at 8. So I stood there for the hour. I wrote the running sheet. I did the script. And still, at 8 a.m., there was no show.
Ed, hear me out, man. I stayed up late and I knew I'd wake up. So I was going to set an alarm. So I got into bed and I was going to set my alarm. But TikTok kind of ruined that. That's my bad.
Yeah.
I in my defense, Ed, I'm not a morning person, and I went to set my alarm because I knew I had to be up. So I go to bed and I crawl up in bed, and instead of setting an alarm, I open TikTok. You know what everyone does? I was scrolling through TikTok, and next thing you know, I fell asleep. I woke up at 8:39, realized what I'd done, set an alarm for 9, and went back to bed. Me being up this early on a weekend is an achievement.
Me being up at 6:30 on a weekend's an achievement. I don't even do that on hockey days.
You don't?
And I have to go to Ballarat and Hamilton, and I still get up later. That says a lot, doesn't it, about what I do for you?
Oh, well, I'm a pretty special person, Ed.
So I hope you feel bad about yourself. Now,
I don't feel bad about myself at all.
all right. On to the next topic of discussion, which caused a bit of I won't say uproar, but I don't know about Brayden, but I was getting a few messages from dedicated listeners who were a bit worried because if you noticed, last week's episode title was cancelled. Now, that was the title, just cancelled. I had a few messages from people saying, "Oh, why is it cancelled? What happened?" And there was a bit of confusion because the way we set out the little advertising title, that's my fault. And they thought that episode 4 was cancelled, but it wasn't, obviously. And Brayden, why, just the short explanation, because we'll get into further detail later, why was the title cancelled?
I just need one word for this one, Ed, and it is Daniel.
That sums it up, and we will explain later in better detail. But Daniel, you're getting your fair share this week, actually, Daniel, because half the podcast is about you. Yeah, half the podcast is about you. Now, finally, before we get into Daniel, the segment, that's a good title, Daniel, the segment. Last week there was no YouTube, and a few of you do watch the YouTube versions. I've been noticing on my stats. The reason there was no YouTube is blatantly because I didn't edit it, and I ran out of time, and I had school, and I didn't bother. And the thing with the YouTube is a 45-minute video takes a while to upload. So it was probably about 10 o'clock on the Tuesday, and I really couldn't be bothered uploading it. And basically, I just haven't got around to editing it properly because I edit it as a video normally, but I couldn't be bothered doing that. So I just chucked in the school bells and stuff and moved on last week. So either episode 4 and 5 will both come onto YouTube at the same time, or I probably should do that, or episode 4 will just not appear. But on lighter news, there will be an outtakes video soon for episode 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. But I decided not to do one weekly because it's just a bit boring. So we'll combine like the solid outtakes from about 6 episodes, and that should be a quality video. But we'll let you know.
It's pretty much 5 minutes of me doing something stupid because I'm distracted.
Like not waking up at 7 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ed. Or like copying my Woody idea and stealing it.
Jeez. Someone's so angry today.
Guys, for the listeners at home, don't worry. We're not actually mad at each other.
This is like family turmoil. This podcast is it's in its dividends now. It may not come back again because of Brayden.
Because of Ed. Ed's ruined the podcast.
Hell. Moving on.
It's just moving on.
In episode 4, we had Daniel on the show to record one-line wonders, which was a good idea at the start. As his jokes and pick-up lines carried on, it became prevalent that Daniel probably had his moment in episode 3 and wasn't ready to steal the spotlight again.
After an outstanding chat with James, Daniel may have felt the pressure to perform and one-up the other returning guest. Either way, it was nothing compared to Love Lessons with James. And One-Line Wonders saw its way into the trash bin, not to be aired.
We were then faced with a big dilemma. We needed content. Luckily for us, Love Lessons with James was a segment of carrying on, and James himself saved us from humiliation. This leads us to this week, where we are faced with a real problem and course of action. What happens with Daniel from here?
We have a list of possible actions that can be taken against Daniel, and we want you, the listeners, to decide before next week's episode which route we should take. Kicking off the list, we have a subtle redo of the segment.
Very subtle. Basically, what this will consist of is we'll get Daniel on the show. And what we'll get is we'll just redo the whole segment. We'll redo new jokes, new pickup lines. Now, positives of this, we forget about the past, we move on to the future. Daniel gets let off with just today's little humiliation. And everyone moves on. Cons of that, we don't get solid content, we get boring content, and Daniel gets let off the hook.
Oh. The second option we have is an official apology. This means that Daniel comes onto the show with a formal apology, and he will formally show his regret, apologize for the absolute humiliation he's brought to this podcast, provide insight to how he will strive to fix his actions, and how he will improve in the future.
It sounds so formal. The poor guy. Just kidding. No sympathy. And third and last, well, maybe not last, third on our list is a formal inquest. Now, this is a personal favourite. So this allows us, as a podcast, to fully understand what happened with Daniel and why this whole situation of just crap content occurred. It will see us receive answers into the downfall in Daniel. It will provide us with a sense of ending and peace once it is all over. But you have to climb the hill to go back down. And that is just what we'll do. It penalises Daniel who's found guilty. He gets what he deserves. But it also provides us with a solid, good content.
Those are the three options we have come up with. If anyone has any other ideas that may work, DM us on Snapchat. Otherwise, a poll will be released on playground.politics on Instagram next week, where we want you guys to vote for an opinion. If formal inquest is the chosen way of action, there will be discussions for a special episode of Playground Politics, where this will be conducted over the full 40 minutes. Anyhow, we will revisit this next episode.
We all remember little things from when we were young. The primary school days, the kindergarten days. There's those magical TV shows, those little games and toys, those educational toys, but some of those things we have just forgotten about.
Indeed, Ed. That's why I think it's our civic duty on Playground Politics to get people's memories flowing and provide today's childhood classics. This week's childhood classics will be 3 TV shows that you miss.
So we'll go one from one, starting from number 3, which is a classic, but not our favourite. And then we'll work up to number 1, which is our favourite OG TV show. It's something that may be canned. It's something that may have been edited and adjusted in a different way to not make it OG anymore. Or it may be something that's really on, but you just don't see it anymore. Or something we'll say on All-Star or something like that just doesn't get on free-to-air and stuff anymore. So we'll start with you. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Bob the Builder. And for anyone who doesn't know, Bob the Builder has actually been reanimated and revamped. And it's just ruined it for my childhood. I mean, the animation is terrible. It is so bad. And it triggers me watching it every single time because they've ruined Bob the Builder, which was personal favourite when I was little, as it would be for most people.
Yeah, that is.
My number 2 would be Adventure Time. And when I was growing up, I used to watch that on Cartoon Network. And I just don't see it as much. I don't know if it's on free to view anymore, if I'm just not looking for it anymore, but I just don't see it as much. And I remember watching that as a little kid. Well, little kid, I was 12, but I remember watching that, and that was one of my favourite shows as a child. And not seeing it anymore, that's just whack. And then finally, the most OG TV show that I used to watch was Thomas the Tank Engine. It got to the point of OG. I forced my mum to buy me CDs, DVDs of all the seasons, so I could sit in my room and watch them. And what about you, Ed? Do you have 3 TV shows that you miss?
Okay, so number 3, we've got Prank Patrol. I just miss the ninjas. I just miss the recipe for a prank, that cringe cartoon they put halfway through. I just miss the cringiness yet goatness of it. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good show. It's tough for number 3, but that's my number 3. Coming in 2 is Koala Brothers on ABC as well.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have much to say. It's just an OG show. It's just quality. We've got characters like George the Turtle. That's like that mailman guy. He was just OG. And then you've got Archie the Crocodile, who had like this sweater on that looks like he's wearing cricket whites all the time. Those are just characters I love. Those are just what makes me love a show. That's quality. And my number one...
like you grew up with it.
Yeah. And my number one OG show. And it just has the theme song is just catchy.
Yeah.
Go, koala, bro.
Is that copyrighted?
No, because I sung it, and my sing is beautiful.
No. I mean, if we got the actual song, would that be copyrighted? Because we could get it on the show. Bring back nostalgia for the...
We'll get back to you guys next week, and we may just have a nostalgic segment, depending on copyright. And then, my number one is Fireman Sam. Now, I'm not talking... There is stages of Fireman Sam. There is your current one, which is pretty bad. It's too political. Then there's your middle class, which is okay. But then I'm thinking way back when the characters like so simple and they were very like pale clay sort of thing. I don't know the exact animation of it. And they were just simplicity and it was just old. And like, if you're not quite understanding which one I'm talking about, I'll put a picture up. But it's like, to kick it off, he just slides down his own staircase, Fireman Sam, and the helmet comes out, and everything like pops out to him, and just slides down. And he gets met with the newspaper, and he just carries on. That is the OG Fireman Sam. That is what I miss, and that is my top favorite. This week's wacky sport is bun climbing, an annual event held in China.
The Bun Festival is held on the 8th day of the 4th month annually, according to the Chinese calendar. The island of Changchao, hopefully I said that right, poses as a host for this event, hosting thousands of people.
To participate in the event, nominees must complete a mountaineer training course, with 12 men selected to participate in the race after completing that course.
With towers sitting 60 feet high, made from bamboo and covered in buns, the aim of the race is to collect as many buns as you can to be named the winner.
Due to safety reasons, fake buns are used to cover the bamboo towers now in exchange for the traditional decorative esteem buns they used to use. Thoughts on bun climbing?
It sounds pretty interesting. Not as, I don't think it would be as entertaining to watch as cheese rolling, but I definitely think it's probably up there to be entertaining. What about you? Like, thoughts on it?
It's not wacky. It's wacky, but it's not wacky. The idea of it is more wacky than the actual physical part of it. So like having steamed buns, it's a cultural thing, obviously, but the idea of decorative steamed buns just on a tower and just getting as many as you can, I find that more wacky than the idea of climbing a tower. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, if you were to be able to compete, would you compete in this event?
I mean, it depends how I go in the mountaineering training. I don't know. Probably not. It's pretty odd. It's just like rock climbing in a way. But objective, isn't it? What about you?
Well, no, because it's boring, and I only participate in entertaining sports. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's a good lead into what's your wackiness rating out of 10?
I don't think it's that wacky. I'd give it like probably a 4, because it's not that wacky. I mean, it's a bit wacky that you have to climb and get buns, but like literally all they're doing is just climbing. So it's not that wacky in my opinion.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. It doesn't really stack up to cheese rolling because it just doesn't have that physical. Well, it has a physical attribute, but I'd probably give it a 4 as well. But if we stack up the scores against cheese rolling, there's a clear winner in cheese rolling. Do you agree with what the scores say? Do you think it's...
Yes, I do agree.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cheese rolling is way wackier than this. Like rolling down a hill after a thing of cheese, I reckon is way more wackier than just climbing for buns. I mean, they're both wacky. Don't get me wrong, but what about you? Do you think cheese rolling is more wacky, Ed, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. It stacks up, and the evidence in our scores stacks up against our opinions, which is good, and it means Cheese Rolling is right now our wackiest sport. There you have it. Well done. We'll get back to you in a later episode to actually
well done, Cheese Rolling.
stack up more contestants. We're in a dilemma. We've hit the wall, as if you could say. It could be worse. We're not dead yet, but we've been shot. It's just missed the heart. We haven't quite fallen. We're still staying strong. But if we get hit again, we're down. And what that is we've run out of quality segments. Now, the key word there is quality, because we've got a list of segments. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, none of them are very entertaining, and it's pretty crap. Yeah.
Well, coming off of that, I mean, us as podcast hosts want to bring you guys the best content we can. So we want to know what you guys want to hear on this podcast. Like, send us through ideas as to what you want to hear and how we can incorporate all this into our show. If you DM us on Instagram, playground.politics. If you message us through Snapchat, play.politics, we're open to any ideas and anything. Just get in touch with us, and who knows, might be on the next podcast.
Yeah, that's definitely. What have we had? We've had 4 episodes now, so you guys understand the vibe of the show and what we're aiming for. So if you've got any ideas, send it through. We'll have a read, and I'm sure there's a way that we can adjust it, incorporate it with your help, with your opinions.
We are back with Q&A with the lads, and we have a couple of questions today, with the first one being, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Does it have a filling, and does it have bread that goes around it? Yes, it does. It is a sandwich.
Oh, very quick to answer that one.
Well, can you argue?
Well, no, I can't argue. Pretty much
Exactly.
proved the lines.
Exactly. So that leads on to the next obvious question: is cereal or soup?
Oh, I can't mess it up after your performance. Yes, because it has liquid and chunky things in it.
No.
Yes. No.
No. It's not hot. It's not hot.
It's not.
You don't make a milk soup. You don't boil the milk and put food in it. You make pumpkin soup. You make potato soup. You make potato and leek soup. You make beef soup. You don't make fruity ring soup. You don't make.
Ed? You seem very
You don't make
pressed
Cocoa Pop
about
soup.
this.
You don't make Cocoa Pop soup. You don't make Wheat Bix soup. Move on.
I've made Cocoa Pops scrambled eggs.
Yeah, that's Cocoa Pop's going. That is a conversation for another day.
All right, moving on. How are our quarantines going?
Okay. In my opinion, I'm going okay. I'm doing my schoolwork. I've got no schoolwork. I'm hating my schoolwork. I'm doing this podcast, which is an utter waste of time and a total shambles. And I'm exercising and I'm working. So apart from that, life hasn't really changed. But apart from I can't play sport and stuff, and I get no human interaction apart from work, and it's kind of depressing when work is your only form of human interaction. What about you?
On my quarantine, it's going pretty good. It doesn't sound as sad as yours, Ed. I mean, all I've done is I'm addicted to iced coffee and peanut M&Ms, and I sit at this desk and just play video games all day. That's my quarantine, and I eat a lot.
And you
I think
the time.
I've put on 3 kilos.
Well done. That's an achievement. You also miss the timings for podcast filmings, and you annoy me, and you don't talk to your friends, and you simp. Apart from that, you're having a great quarantine by the sounds of it. If you could know the total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
What happens after death?
It's like, what's the meaning of life? Why that?
I've always been interested about what happens after death. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to die to find out. That's the whole element of surprise. Patience, mate. Show some patience.
I'm not a patient person. I'm not a
Oh, no,
patient
crap.
person.
Right.
What about you?
One question. Why did Brayden stand me up this morning? Rightio.
Because Brayden needs his sleep.
What's next?
You know, if you're entering a boxing match, what song comes on as your fight song?
What's that? Is that Katy Perry that's called This Is My Fight Song?
Yeah, I think.
Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
That's not it.
Isn't it?
That's not what I'm playing. I think you just got to play a bit of Queen. We Are the Champions.
I've had my shadows and kicked in my face, but I come through. I need to go on. We are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end.
Wow, fair enough.
Just come straight in. Just slam it in.
If I was to go into a boxing match, I wouldn't want music. I'd want like a subtle, eerie sound, but silence from everyone, because you've struck fear into your opponent.
And then like a bit of smoke machine and just that.
Yeah.
Ooh, just some murmur.
Yeah, sort of like if
background.
anyone watched WWE as a kid, you'll remember the Undertaker's iconic entrance, sort of like that. All right. Moving on. If you could bring back one historical human figure back to Earth, who are you bringing back?
I am bringing back Kobe Bryant. Now, it's too soon, but I know that you'll go, oh, you're just talking basketball stuff. No, Kobe Bryant was more than basketball, and he was an inspirational figure. And the man, he left too soon. It's as easy as that. Who are you bringing?
Yeah. Actually, Kobe as well. I was going to say Kobe as well. And not because he was basketball, but because he was my idol when I was little. I would always look up to him and his gameplay, and I look up to his mentality towards the sport. And I always wanted to be like him, even though I am trash at basketball.
You're trash at everything. Yeah.
It's just sad.
Just show the mum mentality and you're all good.
I didn't show up on time for once.
That's not Mamba mentality. Mamba
It was
mentality
one
means
time.
you'd wake up and you'd come on and you'd do your best for this podcast.
Mate, Mamba mentality for me only works with sport. Have you seen me play hockey yet?
Yeah, you're crap. Right.
Oh.
Final question.
Oh.
What is one subject at school you wish never existed?
English, because it's so stupid. Makes no sense. I don't have to analyze Shakespeare's text. So stupid.
Do you do English or lit?
I do English.
Oh, so don't complain too
Yeah,
much.
what? What about you?
Probably science. I hate science.
Ooh.
Science is boring. I'm bad at science. The only good results I've got in high school for science is this isolation. I haven't scored under 90 and we've had like 3 tests. So I'm balling. So that's just because I actually do work in own learning. I think that's it for this week's questions. And I think that's it for the podcast in general. I think it has been a very bad podcast. And that is just because of the mentality of Brayden. He really let us all down this week.
Okay, Ed.
This was more of a business podcast. This was more just a little bit of a episode 5 just to refresh, just sort a few things out, close some loose ends, start some ends, Daniel. Really just, if you guys don't listen to this podcast, I wouldn't really mind. Like, this is more just to sort some stuff out, get it on the record, refresh, get next week ready, and get Daniel's formal inquest, because I want to have a formal inquest. So you guys better vote for that.
Yeah, and you better vote.
You better vote in general, and you better vote for the formal inquest, because I want to just roast him, just interrogate him.
Because then the podcast might be cancelled if you don't vote. Because if Ed keeps up his silly little Brayden didn't wake up in time, it is cancelled.
Yeah, well, if Brayden doesn't wake up in time, there won't be an episode, so then it will be cancelled.
Or if Ed stops trying to be so much like me, then we might be alright.
Bro, I bought an Udi. It's not
Ed,
even the same as
you're
yours.
legit copying everything.
It's not even the same as yours.
Ed, you're
mine's
copying my
brighter 'cause
hairstyle.
Mine's brighter because I've got a brighter future. Oh, what? I'm copying your hairstyle.
Yeah, and you copied me on the idea to do this podcast.
Oh, did I? I thought this was a team effort. I didn't notice.
I was gonna say I also support Collingwood, but I don't want to support a trash can team.
Did you go for Essendon?
What do you mean? No, I go for Port, obviously.
Geez, that's the biggest bandwagon I've ever heard.
Nah, don't worry, guys. It's not cancelled. It's just a bit of banter.
Yeah, don't sue us for giving you false hope. False insecurities. It's probably hopeful because then we wouldn't keep on invading your Instagram and stuff. Anyway, that is enough crap talk for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me, Brayden.
That's okay.
Even if you were late, thank you for joining. It's good to get the podcast done, dusted. Anyway, get onto the Instagram and vote. Send your episode segment ideas through to Snapchat. Check out the website. You can also send segment ideas through there. What else have we got that we can plug? That's about it, to be honest. Just have just happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Thank you for buying your children computers and phones so they can listen to our podcast. And yeah, over to you, Brayden.
Yeah, thank you for listening this week. And Ed, if you keep this up, there might not be a podcast next week, guys. Ed and I are having a fallout right now, but
we'll have a formal inquest. Well, stay tuned for 2 formal inquests. Episode 6 and 7 will both be formal inquests at this rate.
No, we're not cancelled, guys. Don't worry. And we'll catch you next week. Yet.
Yeah.
See ya. Bro, it's not my fault. I like bullying kids.